I'm building a real estate lead generation chatbot for Facebook Messenger. And I'm going to show you how I'm building it. And I'll document it over a series of videos. Now, the first video is going to be focused on Dialogflow, which is really the brain of a chatbot. But we're going to be using three systems. We're going to be using Dialogflow, which is AI from Google. It's going to use what's called this natural language processing technology to understand the messages that users send. We're going to be using Manychat, where we're going to be able to take the data that we are able to get from Dialogflow and we're going to automatically store it into user profiles in Manychat so that we can then follow up with the user and have some data. And we're also going to be able to create responses with Manychat. So we're going to be able to visually design a funnel once the user sends the message about capturing additional information or triggering other systems like a calendar, or the third system that we're going to use in this series is Botsheets. So we're actually going to be able to, from Manychat, we're going to be able to search a Google Sheet which serves as a database, and we're going to be able to add a whole bunch of properties to a database, but every business understands how a spreadsheet works, so it's really easy to manage. And when it comes to real estate, it's all frequently changing content. So you're going to want to be able to update and add new properties, and you can do that directly in the Google Sheet, and the chatbot is going to read that data, and in real time it's going to generate galleries and other rich media content in Facebook Messenger. So this is sort of for managing content relating to a real estate agent properties, and Manychat is going to be sort of a CRM where you're going to be able to maintain a database of users and a data associated with those users. And Dialogflow is where we're going to start. And that's why we're going to dive into this first, because this is the brain of the chatbot. A lot of bot makers will make the mistake and they'll just try and design a conversational experience. You can't really design a conversational experience because a conversation can take a number of different turns, and users are sending a message because it's Messenger, and you don't know what they're going to send. So you need to know how to respond. If you can't respond accurately from the first message the user sends, then you're going to lose the user, and then your lead generation strategy for Messenger is just going to fail. So at least using automation. So let's get the automation right, because real estate agents are busy. They're out showing properties, setting up appointments. They're busy. And so they need the chatbot to take on all of the heavy lifting. And so Dialogflow's goal is to help a chatbot maker or a real estate agent business or any business really understand the intent of the user when they send a message. And that's why you have here, you can see on the left side I have intents, and I have a list of intents that are specific to real estate. And I've named my intents. These are names that I've given each intent. It'll group together the things that users say, similar things. You can see this is real estate, this is dot event, and then dot create. An event might be like a showing or an open house. That's an event. And they might want to go to an open house. So that's why I have real estate event create. They're going to create an event. Maybe they can't make it and they need to contact the real estate agent so they can cancel it. Or maybe the time doesn't work, and so you have real estate event change. So they want to change the time. And that could be a buyer or a seller. So maybe somebody's hosting an open house, and they need to change the time because it doesn't work. So these intents serve both buyers and sellers or renters or leasers or all different types of users. You have a whole collection of intents to understand different types of messages from different types of users. So now let's look at one of these intents. Let's look at this real estate event create intent. And you can see here, if I scroll down, that I have some sample things that users might say. These are called training phrases because your job is to train the AI to understand what a user might say. Now, in this section, you're not going to add everything that users say. You don't add every message. You just need to provide a few examples. You can see here that I have about 10, 20, about 25 different example phrases. And inside of these phrases, I have words that are highlighted because that's how I'm also going to train Dialogflow. I'm going to use the words as just examples of things of what people might say. Here it says book an open house for next week. Okay, so there's a whole bunch of different ways that users might express that. They might not say book, maybe they say arrange an open house for next week. Or that would be if somebody's selling their house, but maybe they want to arrange a viewing. They're a buyer. And maybe it's not next week, maybe it's next Tuesday, or maybe it's just tonight. So all of these things are examples of what users say, and your job is to train the AI to understand the different things that users say. And so we can train, further define, so we provide, an example phrase, and then we provide examples of words within those phrases. And those are called entities. So you have intents, and then you have entities. Now you can see book is highlighted, and you can see here that it's also highlighted here because this word is triggering our property action entity. This is a list of possible values that the computer program should understand. And we've created this list, and I can show you here. This is one of my entities, but let's just search for that. Well, here's what the list looks like. I have a whole bunch of lists of possible values. We're looking for this property action. And you can see these are things that users might say. They're looking to sell, buy, rent, lease, sublease, renovate, view, show. These are action words, and they're all specific to this list, to this niche, which is why I had to create this list. And then you have synonyms, which are the different ways that users might express one of these action words. So maybe they don't say buy. Maybe they say I'm looking to own a house, or I'm looking to purchase a house. Maybe it's not a house at all. Maybe it's they're looking to acquire an apartment building, or they're looking to purchase a restaurant or a hotel or a piece of land. So these are synonyms. All of these things mean buy. And that is just one entity. Let's look at a different entity here. I've created an entity called property event, and that's why open house is highlighted. And let's go look at that entity. So that was property event. And these are all the events that occur within a real estate customer journey, if we call it that. An inspection, an open house, a closing, a viewing, an appointment, a move. And you can add to these lists as well. And you can add synonyms, and it'll just update the Dialogflow agent will learn as you add additional values. But I've created all these lists already, and makes it really easy because you can see what it looks like when it's all set up. Now let's look at this one here. This is highlighted, this example word, next week. And it's triggered what's called as, it says sys.date-period. So sys stands for system, and you're not going to come up with a list of every possible date or things that users might say to indicate a date. A computer program can do that for you. In fact, if the user says book an open house for next week, Google automatically knows that next week is the next week on the calendar from the time the user sent the message, and will give you a time and date value that you can then work with and automatically extract that value and store it. So I'm going to add another phrase just to show you. Arrange a viewing on Saturday. Okay, and I'm going to hit enter. And that's another example training phrase. And as I hit enter, Google automatically detected that these are example values in my entities. And so arrange That triggered my property action. Arrange is an action. Viewing, that's an event. And Saturday knows that Saturday is a day of the week, and it automatically assumes that that Saturday is the next Saturday on the calendar, because I didn't specify a calendar date. I just said on Saturday. So the computer program assumes it's next Saturday, and Dialogflow will use this system entity called date. And I can test these in the simulator here. On the right side, arrange a viewing on, let's say, Tuesday. And so you can see here that this is what the user says. So you can test it out. You'll see this is what you said. You'll see here this is the intent that got triggered. So this is our real estate event, create intent. So this is it. And then you can see here that these are some example values that were captured. And we're using entities to sort of store possible values, but whatever the user says is going to get stored in what's called as a parameter. So you can see here, I've named this parameter property action, I've named this parameter property event, I've named this event date. And you can see here, this is the date, it's a computer program time. So if you have other systems connected to Dialogflow, like Manychat or a calendar system, it'll provide the date in a format that other computer programs will understand. So we're able to capture date. This is the event, and this is the other value, arrange. So I know what they want to do and when they want to do it, and then we'll be able to then store that data automatically in Manychat, and then we can follow up with the user, either live or using automation. Let's look at one more example of an intent that's going to be particularly valuable here. And some of these are, just here's some general like FAQ hours. So maybe they want to know, when the real estate agent is available to meet, or they want to know, here's real estate FAQ commission. So they want to know how much commission the real estate agent might take. Maybe they're looking for a job. Maybe they have questions about making an offer on a property. Maybe they have questions about financing and insurance questions, or they have questions about ongoing, like what are the taxes like? Is the hydro included? So they have a whole bunch of questions relating to a whole bunch of actions around properties. So you can capture the intent, and then you can deliver responses. But the one intent that I think is particularly useful here is this lead one, and I've searched for it. And you can see here that I provided some examples, but I have far more examples here. I have about, looks like about 40 different examples, because there's a lot of different things that users might say and a lot of possible meanings of words inside of phrases. So here you can see, need a warehouse with good security, need a condo with a good city view, can I get a house with a swimming pool, need an apartment with a balcony, how much will it cost to rent a cabin for 3 months? So these are just example phrases, and lots of entities here to capture a bunch of different things that users might mean when they send their message. Let's look at this one. They're looking to, how much will it cost to rent a cabin for 3 months? And that's a lead right there. And so we can get all this data stored in a user profile just from the user sending that one message, because we know that rent, that triggered our property action. That's something that they want to do, that property action entity. And so a value, whatever they say, will get stored in this property action parameter. Cabin, so I have an entity for all the different types of residential properties. So let's look at that one. Residential. Yeah, so you can see these are all the different types of residential property types that a user might ask about, that my real estate agent has. or may have at some point. And you can see here, these are like maybe, they're looking for an apartment, but I've added things like condo or condominium or just APT for short, because people don't type the full word in Messenger. They'll just type short forms. So those are synonyms, and they all mean apartment. Yeah, cabin is that is somewhere here. Yeah, so if that is a synonym, cabin, and it means a vacation home. So they're looking to rent a cabin, and then 3 months is duration. So that is using Dialogflow's automatic system entity to give us a period of time of 3 months. So let's try a variation of this one in the simulator. How much to buy a condo? So you can see here, this is just an example of something I said, and it was able to trigger this intent. This is a lead, and I can see here that I was able to extract from that message using those entities this buy from my, and it was stored in my stored in a parameter, which is essentially a user field, and I was able to see what it is that they want to buy. This is the value, apartment. So it was able to trigger our apartment was a synonym for one of these values. Yes, sorry. They said condo, which is a synonym for apartment, and we were able to capture that value and store that. So they want to buy an apartment, and we didn't provide a timeline, so we weren't able to get a value. But we can, if we rephrase this, we can say it like this. How much to rent a condo in July? There, I don't know. I just came up with something there. And you can see here that I was able to get that value. I see here's what they want to do. They want to rent. They want to rent an apartment. And I got, and you can see here, I got a value that another computer program would understand, like a calendar or a database or, or Manychat. And it gives you the end date, which is July 31st, and the start date here, which is July 1st. And it has a whole bunch of other detailed, granular time date data, but you can see here that it worked. Dialogflow automatically knew that July was a month, and it gave us a value that we could automatically work with. So that is Dialogflow in a nutshell. It's going to really help you understand when users send messages and be able to get values out of those messages that become actionable. And one thing that I've done here, which is particularly interesting, is maybe they send one message and then they just send another message right after, because they just don't put it all into one message. They just send like a couple of quick messages. So you can see here I have what's called as a follow-up intent, and if I click the follow-up intent, you can see here something mid-century, or how about one with a balcony, or preferably with a school nearby. So the first message may be, I'm looking to buy a house. Then they click submit or send, and they send that message. And then they send a follow-up message that says preferably with, whatever their preference is nearby. And so you're going to be able to keep the context going, because this is a follow-up message. And you can see that's why they're nested under each other. The context. They might send a third message after that says, it needs to include a courtyard and a modern kitchen. There also needs to be parking. So I'm assuming here that when users are warm leads for real estate, that they might not just send one message, but they may actually send a series of messages in sequence, all of which are going to provide valuable data that we can extract with Dialogflow, and then we'll be able to store that in Manychat. Okay, so next we're going to get into that. We're going to get into where does that data go and what you can do with it.